All right, welcome everybody to Delta Phi at our new experimental time of 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. We had a couple people reach out to us and let us know that the 2 wasn't working, and we figured that moving it to this new time would be an interesting way to see if we could make this available for more people. Of course, the big news in the markets today, at least the crypto markets, the launch of Uniswap V3. Now, there's a lot of memes around this, right? Because Uniswap V3, while it promises better capital efficiency, there are some drawdowns to it. I believe it's got poorer composability than Uniswap V2. The fees for LPs are certainly higher. I saw somebody post on Twitter it was going to cost like $1,000 to even be a liquidity provider. But it does open up some interesting avenues. One for institutional grade liquidity. You can basically establish liquidity on a custom curve, which is really, really cool. And the market maker will actually assimilate a number of custom curves and people providing liquidity in different ranges. And what that actually allows is for more realistic market making as opposed to the traditional constant sum market making model where it's just even sided liquidity and it remains balanced 50-50 up and down. Super interesting though. I have seen a bit of speculation that the launch of Uniswap V3 will be the kind of thing to kickstart DeFi summer again. And it's certainly looking that way, based on what we're seeing in the markets today. But is it that easy? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. We like to overcomplicate things. But remember, apes are very left side of the curve. So we've had the Berlin upgrade on Ethereum. A lot of people have been talking about how the Ethereum gas prices, while still substantially higher than other options, Solana, Binance Smart Chain, the AVAX, we have Matic, Polygon now. There's a lot of places for degens to ape. But the Berlin upgrade increased the gas limit for Ethereum's blocks. And we've discussed this before on stream. Ethereum doesn't have a block size like Bitcoin. Bitcoin, there's only so much data you can cram into a block. Whereas Ethereum, there's a gas limit. So sometimes, if people are misbehaving and bidding gas up, that's one of the things that makes the Ethereum network unusable. But it also creates an environment where there's something called a priority gas auction. And what that essentially means is that people can bid different numbers, for their transactions to ensure inclusion in a block. And not only that, but the ordering of their transaction as well. That's where a lot of these things like MEV or minor extractable value come from. But it is interesting to see, the Ethereum network is substantially cheaper, mainly due to that and flash bots. There has been speculation even that, Binance was spamming the chain. We saw similar speculation in 2017 around the time of SegWit, to where, you had people angry at each other and people were, in fact, spamming the chain to make it look like the scalability issues, were a lot worse than they were, to make it look like we did need bigger blocks. But certainly no shortage of news. EIP 1559, of course, the biggest news in our upcoming future. That is scheduled for middle of July, I believe. And I'm still holding pretty firmly that, I think that will be a top. For Ethereum, for altcoins. I think that the rotation to Bitcoin will be sometime around then. Of course, we've already seen a lot of coping from Bitcoin maximalists. We've seen a lot of gloating as well on the other side of the coin from Ethereum guys, from guys that are Solana ecosystem. The thing is, though, people are like, I feel like people have only been really gloating for like a month. You guys have to remember, when Bitcoin decided that, hey, I'm going to go from $10,000 to $60,000, that shit was brutal for altcoins, and Bitcoin maximalists gloated for, literally 3 or 4 months. So I definitely think that we do have some time. I think that, the actual timing of the IP 1559, kind of coupled with the fact that the next news after that, which is the merge with the Beacon chain POS being enabled early on Ethereum, that could be another catalyst in the future. But I do think that we are going to see a huge rotation to Bitcoin, probably, I'd say a month and a half to 2 months from now. And I plan on taking advantage of that. What do you guys think about all this?
Man, it's been a really crazy week. I feel like 2 weeks ago we're looking at Ethereum and on stream it was like breaking out, right? It was a pretty exciting time, and it was 2,200. Like Ethereum the other day rallied. I looked down at TradingView, $500 on the day when it made a new high, and literally when we launched Tix Wix in end of October, early November, Ethereum was like $300 6 months ago. I mean, it's insane.
It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, you were talking about Uniswap. When Uniswap did the airdrop and people were like, how do I claim it? How do I sell it? Yeah, it's a $400 airdrop or $800. The thing was $2. They released V3 and it's $43. It's 20x, 22x. So we've had such big moves, like a complete repricing after Bitcoin decided to do its thing and then chill out. We knew that if Bitcoin would chill out, that's the perfect season for alts to do their thing. But it's exciting to think that we could be at the beginning of another leg higher. Really, really interesting because a lot of alts are well off their highs. Ethereum's making new highs. So, I mean, the elephant in the room for me the last couple of days is Dogecoin. It's unbelievable. I mean, traded 69 cents overnight. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy to see, and I'll be the first to admit that, I never could have even possibly imagined that this would happen. But I mean, I think what we're seeing with Dogecoin is a perfect, example of just. I started in 2017. I did research and I put in the time and I put in the hours, and I made sure I was in fundamentally sound projects and projects with ongoing development, things that I felt comfortable investing in. And then you've just got this straight up noob that comes in, takes his fucking tuition money, sees a meme on the internet and decides to buy, all in on some coin, and he ends up 10x and I don't. It's just a repeat of that exact situation, all over again. I know we're in a bubble right now because fundamentals literally do not matter anymore. It's just a matter of, hey, this has green candles, we're FOMOing in. This is getting talked about on TikTok, we're FOMOing in. So it is a really, really interesting dynamic, to observe. How long would this go on? We were speaking before the stream began, and there's a lot of speculation that the high for Doge will be put in around SNL. Now, I am curious, if that gets front run, or if a lot of times I feel like in situations like this, people get so hyper bullish that we'll print what appears to be a bull flag, and then we just the fucking bottom drops out of it. It gives people the confidence to continue holding. It makes them greedy. They start looking at fibs and flagpole links and saying, okay, now Dogecoin's going to go to $1.50. Now it's going to go to $2, when they don't realize that, fuck, this shit's already up, 50x, 100x, some crazy shit like that. The market as a whole, to me, definitely feels like, at least in terms of altcoins, that we are entering a thrill or euphoria stage of the cycle. And when I say that, people get angry. Oh, you're calling tops, bro. Don't call tops, bro. What are you talking about? I'm not calling tops. These thrill and euphoria stages can last for months on end. So the best advice I have, for anybody that's still has that PTSD, that's, afraid of losing these gains that they've made, is still exposed to the market, is just to call your greed. For me, at least what that means is, I know the market has a bit more to give. the market, I believe, is going to leg up here, and then it's going to stop and start consolidating. When it starts consolidating, whether that's accumulation or distribution, I'm going to be thinking about moving from a position of high risk to a position of low risk. For me, that means Bitcoin. At max pain for Bitcoiners is being dunked on by Ethereum maximalists, DeFi maximalists, guys that bought SafeMoon and are millionaires now for months on end. And I remember distinctly at the end of DeFi summer, Bitcoin had become the biggest joke out there. Nobody wanted to have any Bitcoin. All these guys were making fun of Bitcoiners. Haha, I've gotten 20x in my whole portfolio, and you're sitting there and Bitcoin is down from 12K to 10K. You're never going to make any money. And then Bitcoin just crushed absolutely everything. I'm not a huge believer in stock to flow. I think it's kind of a meme, but at the same time, memes are powerful. We've seen how powerful memes are with Dogecoin. $1 Doge. And there are tons of people out there that would never even conceive selling Doge, even at 99 cents, because it's going to $1. Now, the meme for Bitcoin is 100K. If the stock to flow model is correct, the price typically overshoots what stock to flow suggests it will be. So low risk, pretty high probability target, whether the market is pricing it in on options or not. For me, that 100K is pretty much in the bag. Now, beyond that, 150, 200, 250, that's when we're getting into real bubble territory. That's when I don't want any exposure to that whatsoever, because here's the thing, Bitcoin's at 100K. You continue to hold your Bitcoin, to 150K. You're risking literally, $97,000 of upside that Bitcoin has captured from the bottom for an additional 50%. And I just don't think that the risk reward is there to continue holding at that point. Now, one of the things that I'm really looking forward to this cycle, there's a lot of really good options to short Bitcoin on chain with low leverage, to do it where maybe your liquidation is, something ridiculous, $550,000, $600,000, and you can actually do that on platforms like Compound, Aave, if you're an Ethereum guy, and it's super, super, super liquid. Now, what you actually do to do that is you post the collateral. For me, I'd be posting stablecoins as collateral. And then what you do is you borrow Bitcoin with that collateral and you just sell the Bitcoin. And you can sell that Bitcoin on some kind of DEX. And then you can, of course, come in later and buy it and pay back your loan and Bitcoin. You get to keep the difference there. I'm not trying to short Bitcoin once again right now. I do think that there is juice left to squeeze in this market. And we are at a point now where I can't tell you how many top calls I've seen on Dogecoin, in the last 24 hours. People are in disbelief. I certainly am. This has got to stop somewhere. When does this ever end? If you're a Doge holder, you're like, we're going to $1.50. Elon Musk is taking us to the moon. It's an incredibly exciting environment. I haven't seen this environment in quite some time. And it's funny because I remember months ago, I was like, oh my God, markets are overheated. Like, I'm kind of getting scared here. But now we're getting to the point where I feel that internal fear finally starting to evaporate a little bit. And that is what is actually scary. That's what makes me think that we're nearing this kind of thrill euphoria. So we'll see what happens. Guys, number one, you've got to protect those gains. Don't be the guy that, makes $1 million right here and starts convincing yourself that, I made $1 million. Now I'm going to make $10 million in the next month. That's a really, really dangerous mentality.
It is. It's sometimes it's hard to realize the magnitude of a move, but we've had some really big moves. So it definitely wouldn't be letting everything ride and martingaling everything. That's for sure, because the feature and the bug is volatility. It's a gift and a curse. Volatility can create tremendous opportunities, both to profit and to lose. So it is an absolutely wild market. But that's something I've been saying for a while here, is we're in that type of environment, the GameStop environment, the environment where order flow can get very, very one way very quickly and have some strength behind it. And the liquidity in these markets, which seems to be endless at the beginning, can deteriorate really quickly. There's clearly a supply problem with Dogecoin right now. Market makers are trying to borrow spot Doge so they can sell it on exchange, so they can make a two-way market on the exchange during spot trade. You're seeing funding rates on perpetual futures now been pretty heavy since the morning, meaning there isn't enough physical for people to sell in or short. So they're taking positions and they're paying funding every hour to do so. So they're technically paying this borrow rate that gets really, really high. Because when you've got Dogecoin that's now, gone from 5 cents to 20, which is a crazy move, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, traded 69 today. There's a lot of meat on that bone. We can see big swings there, 50% swings in hours. So it's the GameStop Doge world. Like look at the Robinhood crypto offering right now. We've got Ethereum Classic up 34% today. That's one of 6 coins offered, or 6 or 7 coins offered on Robinhood. Do you think the people who bought Doge on Robinhood are now looking at the other shit on there and just aping?
Same game.
Yeah, 100%.
Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a travesty. They've got Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Cash on there. Bitcoin Cash.
It's not real crypto. You can't withdraw it. It's isolated within their platform. And I'm sure they're arbing it, doing all those things. One of the most interesting things I've seen is, of course, Ethereum Classic is just ballistic mode right now. And there's a 50% premium on Ethereum Classic on Coinbase Pro. Now, people have said, how the fuck does that happen? Why hasn't anybody arbed that premium? And the answer is Ethereum Classic is shit. And it gets 51% attacked very frequently and has chain splits very frequently. And because of that, all of these exchanges have, absolutely outrageous minimum confirmations required for any kind of arbitrage. So unless you're already in Ethereum Classic, which what are the fucking odds of that? Nobody's going to buy that doo-doo. And you're already on Coinbase Pro, it's unarbable. You cannot arb it. So I've actually got friends of mine that bought Ethereum Classic on Coinbase, and they're laughing to the bank right now because these retail apes are getting in there and they're just hammering it. And I do think that while Coinbase does have an expanded offering, relative to Robinhood, that we will see some of those same effects. When we saw Binance coins pumping, that ball of hot money doesn't leave the exchange. It just bounces from unpumped to unpumped to unpumped to unpumped until absolutely everything on the exchange is vertical. And typically, there will be an event that kicks that off. For every alt season that's ever happened, at least since I've been in the space, Dogecoin has kicked off the real alt season. I mean, I'm talking everybody's getting hilariously rich. We're getting media attention. It's super easy to make money. If something isn't pumped and you put your money in it, it's going to go up. I mean, you literally cannot lose in this environment. So
I'll say that it's also the reason, just to play the counter of that such a high, at least 95% of the people in crypto, and this was held so true in 2017, that cycle, which is so valuable when you know how to opportunistically capture it, they don't off ramp back to fiat or to something stable ever. And so anybody who made life-changing money, there's such a small percentage of people, they will rinse it all the way back. So many of them, because they think that cycle, it's like riding a motorcycle without a helmet. You get so comfortable in that cycle, and it's hard for even the most experienced traders in the world to Rob, how many times you and I, you're in something you're just oh, I don't want to let this go. I don't want to let this go. And it's so hard to do.
Yeah.
And for new guys, when you first experience that first huge multiple, when you've got you're riding that wave and you're on that rotation, it's at some point, take it out. I heard when I first started trading, someone told me this great, kind of saying of if you're in 20% too late and you're out 20% too early, you still basically captured 60%. And I would argue that probably not the one that wants to get in 20% too late. I think it's better to probably get in a little earlier than that. But getting out, you don't have to squeeze blood from a stone. And that kind of, you need to be able to pull that back and go and take it kind of at the portfolio level, where you can, at some point put it to something where you say okay, I'm back on the bench. I'm, now going to kind of settle in. Then you need to kind of realize, if you went from, it could be, you went from $1,000 to 100 grand, or you went from 100 grand to 10 million, the amount of change that could bring to your life, once that is actually crystallized, is so massive that you do need to realize that. And I think at some point, don't ever be upset getting out a little bit too early, as much as you will be, and as much as we all are. There's nothing that you can do with that. So
no, I mean, fuck, you're never going to buy the bottom and sell the top. And I certainly have done that before, but it's not because I'm skilled. It's because I got lucky.
Totally.
100%. I mean, even capturing 60% of these moves when things are going 500, 1,000, 10,000%, that's enough. And, you got to learn what enough means. Everybody has their own definition of enough. The issue I had in 2017 is I had never had real money before. So I didn't know what enough was, because I'd never felt that way before in my entire life. All of a sudden you have all of this fucking money, and you don't know what to do with it, and you don't know how to be responsible with it. Maybe is being responsible spending it, is being responsible saving it, and not touching it at all, because you're so terrified of it. But you really need to be thinking about what is enough. And I've discussed this before. Different people can change their lives in different ways with certain quantities of money. Maybe you have credit card bills, and it would be a huge burden off of you and your family if you were able to pay those down. I would make that a primary focus. And, I would definitely include that in my definition of what is enough. At the end of the day, when this is all said and done, the vast majority of people here are not going to be retired. I would say actually a very small percentage of people. But all of you have the opportunity to pay that student loan debt down, get a new car, make a down payment on a home, do something nice, take your family on vacation, do something nice for your parents if they can't afford to take care of themselves or something like that. Those are the kind of reasons that we are all here. And a lot of times your goals transform over time as you do hit these different milestones. It is very easy to start moving those goalposts. But just remember, if you're sitting there right now and, you have 200 grand worth of crypto and 40K worth of debt, why wouldn't you just go ahead and take care of the debt, while you have it? We don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. I was telling Rob and Dan just before the stream, 3 weeks ago, I hit my portfolio all-time high for this year. And then in the 3 weeks after that, I lost 30% of that, just like that. And that all-time high came so quickly. You never know when a local top is in. You never know when, over the next 2 weeks, you are going to take that 30% haircut. So if you're feeling yourself right now, if you think you're a genius and you have obligations, you have things that you could do to improve your life, fucking do them. Why wouldn't you do that? I do want to address this really quick. We have a lot of people asking, where's Random Task? Where's Random Task? He is on a well-deserved vacation right now. So he is not here for this stream, but he should be back next week.
Yep.
Somebody said about, they're more worried about selling the 2X and missing the 10X. 5 2Xs on that same amount of capital, assuming that you push it all in, on $100, 5 2, if you 2X 5 times, you make $1,600. If you 10X one time, you make $1,000. So do the math. There's a lot of 2Xs out there.
And that's the thing, you can play musical chairs in this environment very successfully. I had somebody on Twitter ask me yesterday, why haven't, because I've been known, I play musical chairs. That's kind of been my MO in the past. I'll rotate around a lot. I'll bounce around a lot. Why haven't you been playing musical chairs, this time? Well, it's just because I don't want the stress, When I said, no, it's enough, I know it's enough for me. I get a 2, even 3X from here. I'm in great projects that I think are going to go 2 or 3X. That's low stress. I know that I don't have to be sitting there worried about what's next. What do I need to do? How do I manage this? I don't have to worry about, compounding my taxes on those capital gains or any shit like that. I just get my 2 and 3X. I rotate like I planned to Bitcoin and I'm done. It's easy mode, Yeah. Why though?
By the way, if you're I think what we're talking about is if you're a trader, right?
No, for sure. Yeah.
Like if you're a long-term holder, you'll probably outperform everybody if you're in the right stuff.
Holders almost always outperform traders. I mean, there's some of these leverage gods right now on FTX that are just absolutely printing. But what these guys a lot of times don't talk about, there are some that do, is those guys have days that are brutal sometimes, to where they may see 50% of that account get wiped out in a matter of hours. It takes a different kind of person to do that. And it's very stressful too.
Yeah. I saw some wick on Bybit the other day and I just felt horrible. I read that they were going to make it up to the people, but it was,
free sweatshirt.
No, I think they were going to.
Somebody got liquidated for $70 million on Bybit. I can't remember if it was Bitcoin or Ethereum, but holy shit, can you imagine? I mean, even if it was, some doofus with 7 million and he'd gone 10X, like it's a lot of dough.
It's a huge number. I mean, there's players out there. The one thing that's got me thinking and wondering what exactly is behind it is the funding rates right now and throughout pretty much the vertical leg of the Ethereum move have been very, very tame, like flat tame, like negative more than you would think tame, like quarterly futures not really doing anything. If anything, the premiums have come down. So, it's got me wondering what was the leverage wipeout that we saw. Was it a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, it was a 1-2 punch too. We had those original liquidations and then we had, which were the largest liquidations ever, in the history of this market. And, just 3 days after that, we had a second string of liquidations come in that were about half that size. Absolutely outrageous. I think I read somewhere that 1 million traders had been liquidated. It's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. I would have taken the under on that for some reason. That sounds like a huge number, but I guess we could be talking about, even the smallest of liquidations. But it's got me thinking either this was a terrible underexposed situation for a lot of people who were probably bullish, who probably were levered a week earlier, levered long, who got rinsed or severely hurt to where they didn't have bullets. And quite frankly, sometimes they take the other side of it even and maybe get short after they get hurt on a long and they get dejected and say, yeah, it is a piece of shit. It's going lower. Like, but that's one thing I think plays a little part. The other thing is, are we seeing the beginning of some of this risk-free rate juiciness get squeezed a little bit by some of the new like institutional prop trading desks guys who are looking at this stuff and being like, wait, the curve looks like what?
What do you mean by that, Rob?
Oh yeah.
I mean the internal rate, the funding rates of not only like the perpetual futures that you'll trade on BitMEX or FTX, Binance, but the quarterly futures, they start trading at such premiums to spot where there's like a built-in risk-free trade on a centralized exchange and on the offshore exchanges to where you can own the coin and then be short either the perpetual future or one of the quarterly futures. And you can hold that position till expiration when it will converge, and you will just be collecting that funding rate. It's a yield. You can dial it into a percentage and maybe collect 22% annualized, like a 22%.
So like,
yeah.
Right. So like right now, ETH perp to ETH to the 1231 future, the 1231 future is trading at 39.75 ish. So it's like about $400 over. So it's trading at the basis is $400.
It's it's 500 because it's
$500. So
yeah.
Thank you. $500. So if you take that and annualize it, so how many days between now and 1231, and then back into what the annualized rate would be, and then that would give you what the basis is paying in yield. Like you could put that on, and provided that you don't accidentally do something to get yourself liquidated on the perp leg, which really would just make sense to do the spot side of it. Effectively, it's the equivalent of collecting yield.
Yep.
And so, yeah, and like Bitcoin, when it basically the market, there's somewhat of a directional correlation to it, like where when we go higher, you generally see the premiums go out, like meaning that they get richer, and when we go lower, the curve starts to flatten out a little bit. Generally, we talked about that though.
I was thinking, what do you guys think about funding recently? Because we've had this extremely, like kind of oversubscribed bullish funding that I feel like has been a characteristic, at least, of the earlier phases of this bull market. And I haven't checked up on it this week, but I don't believe that's the case anymore. Are we entering a phase where people do start saying like, holy shit, this is crazy. I'm not longing this, or even, holy shit, this is crazy. I'm going short, because I'm a genius. I'm going to call the top. I'm going to make all this money. Like, what do you guys think about that?
I think it's pretty much more tied to how much risk capital is allocated to some of these exchanges and the trust factor with some of these exchanges and onboarding some of the professional trading firms and some of the professional trading money, this risk capital that looks for yield with the least amount of risk, and they'll deposit $50 million onto FTX.com, for instance. And when the funding rates get rich, they'll put on spreads and they'll collect that yield. And someone might say 28% annualized. Fuck you. I'm offered at 20. I'll sell everything from 28 down to 20. And then some other guy will be like 20%. Shit, I'll collect 15 on that. That's way more than I can get anywhere else. And they'll put more on. And so it becomes, there's like, that funding market will end up ebbing and flowing. And as more risk capital flows in, then this internal rate for crypto and for alts should come down. It'll make these markets more liquid. It'll actually let people ape a lot better and a lot more efficiently. So that's the end game. But I do think it takes time to onboard this smart capital. It's capital that can actually execute on these exchanges. They can execute spreads. They can get into these long, short spreads and know what they're doing to capture the yield.
Which is great. It brings more liquidity across the entire complex, meaning like you start to see more liquidity go into the back month futures, and then you start to see it move into options, and it kind of permeates the entire expanse of the just of crypto trading as a whole, and it starts to balance out kind of like the pure degen spec side of things, and you just get an overall more liquid market, which really you need at the end of the day, like to bring in, like it's the whole complex is super reflexive, meaning like the more liquidity there is, the larger liquidity that will come in and participate.
No doubt. We've got, guys, our charting functionality on screen is limited today. We can still look at some charts and talk about them, but we're not able to stream. We've got some technical difficulties. And I know there's a lot of people asking. Daniel, I'm curious, if you look at the Doge chart right now, and we're thinking about some of this pent up excitement for Elon Musk and his tweet about Saturday Night Live and all that stuff. I know when you're in price discovery, like we just made an all-time high at 69 cents in the last 24 hours. Is there anywhere you can kind of point to on this chart that you could say to people who are itching to put a short on, like maybe here is where you can start to dip your toe on putting on a short?
I mean, to be quite honest, like every method that I use to, potentially calculate, future price discovery targets has already been entirely blown out. Like for me at least, we're in uncharted territory. We literally have a meme coin. The supply is centralized. There's like 65% of the supply or something held by like 10 people or 10 addresses. You've got the richest man in the world who's also a meme lord who is talking about Dogecoin. You have Guy Fieri. You've got Gene Simmons. You've got Snoop Dogg. All of these celebrities talking about it. It's all over TikTok. It's in all of these places where these Generation Z retail apes are. Dogecoin is offered. It's just infinite bid. It's very difficult for me to look at this and be like, okay, $1. That's when it's time to offload this.
Yeah, I think you'd be psychotic.
You'd be absolutely, because I mean, here's the thing. I really do think Doge is like GME all over again.
Yep.
I believe funding has been like negative on Doge Perk forever. And these guys are just getting shredded. Literally, they're just getting shredded. It keeps going up. They keep shorting. They short more. Everybody wants to. And I've never really understood this, even though I have been in this position before, but I learned my fucking lesson. When something's going up like that and you're coping, you missed out the move. There is, I feel like for newer traders, this urge to, hey, well, I'm going to capitalize on this move because this is so, gone up so much, and now I'm going to short it and I'm going to make all this money on the way down. I'm going to be the guy that shorts. Everybody's euphoric. Have you guys seen Twitter? Everybody's euphoric. Everybody's talking about Doge. It's one of those things where I think news-wise, if we wanted to call any kind of top, Elon Musk on Saturday Night Live, the market is pricing in a potential mention of Doge, a skit about Doge, something about Doge. And I do think that the top will be somewhere a few days, I would imagine. Before that, like I said earlier, it'll likely be printing some kind of what appears to be a bull flag or something like that. It'll look like continuation, and that's when people get shredded. I've got a lot of friends last night that sold at 69.420 on Doge. Well, why do they do that? Because it's a meme, and Doge has literally been about memes and meme targets the entire time. I mean, in terms of, and this is something I've talked about on Shitcoin Church recently. I've recently been studying the volume weighted average prices. I think they provide a lot of actionable intel on the markets, especially on, the exact bottoms of things sometimes end up. I'm particularly interested in this yearly anchored VWAP. And one of the really interesting things, there's a new VWAP variation on TradingView. It's the default VWAP indicator. That's volume weighted average price for anybody that doesn't know. That has standard deviation bands with that as well. And those bands are very actionable intel. But I mean, we're outside of 2 standard deviations right now, from this volume weighted average price. It's just not, it's hyper bullish. It's not a condition you want to short. You don't want to be calling tops here because think about it. Dogecoin has been making people furious for months now. And any single person that's tried to call the top in the last 5-6 months, they've gotten shredded. They've been wrong. They've gotten liquidated. They've sold too early. It's just very, very difficult when you're in a situation like this. I mean, when you look at GME and it went to $200, $300, and it's a total meme. It's a defunct company. Nobody fucking shops at GameStop anymore. Malls are all out of business, and that's where they were. It just kept fucking going up. And, when we're talking $300 to, $200 GME, it's absolutely fucking insane. But at the same time, looking at this, Dogecoin does have Lindy. It's been around for a really long time. It's not a long-term investment, and I'll stress that. And I know that because the inflation on this thing is literally infinite. It goes on forever. At a certain point, that amount of supply that these miners are printing is going to outweigh demand. I guarantee you these miners are printing right now. Doge runs on an algorithm called Script. Script was something I believe that was introduced, back with Litecoin, maybe, or it was something around that period of time. But it was meant to address the ASIC, what was seen as an issue with Bitcoin, because ASICs came in. What is an ASIC? Well, basically you've got GPU mining, right? And then we can level that up, and then we can mine with an FPGA. An FPGA is a programmable board that you can program to do a task very well.
It's what they put on missile warheads.
Yeah, they're on missile warheads. You can run all sorts of different
that.
software and languages and shit like that on FPGAs. Now, ASIC takes that one step further to where the actual programmability, the hardware itself, is specialized for a very specific task. Now, the issue with ASICs, at least back in the day, was people said, well, fuck, that messes up decentralization. Bitcoin's all about decentralization. Everybody should be able to mine Bitcoin. So Script was introduced. Script was very similar to Bitcoin's hashing algorithm, but it was much more memory intensive, which made it much more difficult because memory is expensive and the capacity of memory, especially, we've come so far, a terabyte isn't shit anymore. But back then, having a lot of memory did make things very expensive. And also very cost prohibitive to produce even at scale. So Script came along. So the average Joe, me and you, we could get in there, we can mine, it can maintain these properties of decentralization. It's Satoshi's vision, right? Well, eventually Script ASICs came out. I mean, it's inevitable for almost all of these hashing algorithms, even with Ethereum, Zcash. If the money's there, if there's a demand, somebody is going to do the R&D, to develop these efficient ASICs. But not many people have these ASICs that mine things like Dogecoin, like Litecoin. I do think Litecoin's going to have an equally explosive run as Dogecoin. It's funny, everybody was making fun of Charlie Lee. He was on the news a week or two ago, and he's still peddling the Litecoin is silver to Bitcoin's gold meme. Everybody's like, dude, what are you talking about? Litecoin is a shitcoin. Litecoin back in the day had a lot of use cases because people used it for arbitrage. It was a faster Bitcoin. You could move Litecoin between an exchange faster than you could Bitcoin, and that made it an interesting arbitrage vehicle, and that was a use case.
It also was the cheapest cheapest cryptocurrency on the board on GDAX, which was
it was cheap,
probably
so
80% of the reason it rallied. Right.
Yeah, it had those unit bias characteristics, that made it appealing to normies, appealing to the masses. But then, actually, in 2017, guess what became one of the preferred vehicles of arbitrage? Ripple. And guess what happened to Ripple? Ripple exploded. There was a huge demand for Ripple. Why was it a preferred vehicle of arbitrage? Well, it was traded almost everywhere, and it's fast as shit. Simple as that. The issue, though, with even something super fast like that is Ripple is subject to price volatility, which doesn't make it the best vehicle for arbitrage between exchange. So now what do people use? Stable coins. You can, especially if you're using, believe it or not, I think a lot of people use the Tron network between different exchanges for arbitrage, which is really interesting. What is Tron? Tron is just almost like Binance Smart Chain. It's super centralized, super fast, EVM compatible. And we can discuss the emergence of all of these EVM copy pasta scams. We are getting towards the latter part of the stream in just a moment. But most people started using that as arbitrage. Even back in the day, I remember people were using Dogecoin as arbitrage, I think even before XRP, because Doge was kind of liquid. It was a lot of different places, and it's faster than Litecoin. And it also has those unit bias characteristics. In a bull run, Doge goes nuts. But what we're seeing right now, a lot of people, I still remember this very distinctly. Back in April, when Doge was kind of blowing people's minds for the first time, people were like, oh, this is a bad sign. This is a sign of bad things to come. I've never understood that, because in the past, like, the creation of wealth gets this train rolling. You get these people rich, that's when they're going to start bragging to all their buddies that I've made all this money in crypto. I'm going to tell my fucking parents, I'm going to be a genius. So, I made 10x on Doge, and now I'm putting it in this, and then I'm putting it in that. This is super bullish. This Dogecoin money is going to affect the market in a big way when this shit is done. And I've said this before, but it's really difficult to fathom just what the rest of the market is about to do. You try to rationalize it. You try to put these targets on that make sense. Even me, and I'm saying, hey, I'll take a 2-3x from here. That would be amazing. I feel like me being in this market, pretty rational, pretty reasonable. But then I look at shit like Dogecoin, like BNB. There's so many examples of things just going absolutely batshit. So while I might say, yeah, I'd be happy with, $15 Bancor. Well, that shit is on fucking Coinbase. What if it catches a bid and goes to $50 in 2 weeks? Like, never say never is the point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah.
You don't know what the fuck is coming. All you can know is what is enough for you. And look, the upside, in my opinion, can be almost as painful as the downside in some regards, just because when you are making that much money that fast, that's a lot of dopamine. It's really difficult to process what's going on, when you're in that moment. You're just sitting there fucking refreshing your Blockfolio over and over and over again.
I feel like when you've done it long enough, you've experienced so much of the high and so much of the low that you end up you're numb to the tails. Yeah, you 100%. Just kind of you definitely get excited when things go well, but you never. It's like the little PTSD.
It's never as good as your first hit, ever.
It's never as good as the first hit. That's right.
Well, let's talk about, we spoke a little bit about an upcoming catalyst, an upcoming event, which is, the long-awaited Ethereum, EIP 1559. What do we think? We've seen a big move in ETH here, right? All-time highs. We've got a lot of excitement about it. What do you think is going to benefit from the actual upgrade, the actual event? Sure. What other tokens are you going to be looking at that should see, whether it's at the time, like it's news, and should see some positive flow from this event?
I think that's without a doubt Ethereum-based DeFi. We've seen Binance Smart Chain have this incredible run. And I don't think it's done, but at the same time, it's cooling off. If you do chart BNB, even Solana versus Ethereum, they are losing momentum. Not losing momentum, before people grab the pitchforks and shit's going up, right? But if you chart it versus Ethereum, these things are not looking great versus Ethereum. Ethereum is sucking that money out of the market. And as it continues to do so, I believe at least that process will become more and more rapid. We'll see more and more people say, "Oh fuck, I'm in the wrong. In the wrong game right now. I need to get over here. I need to do this." Historically, Ethereum appreciating versus Bitcoin. When you look at that Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, that's when DeFi has really just started kicking ass. And while DeFi has really missed out on this ape bid over the last 2 months, because a lot of these apes didn't want to pay before the Berlin upgrade, $150 to make a trade, and I don't blame them. They went to AVAX and Solana and maybe a little Matic and all these different places. But I do think that there's a lot of money being made with Ethereum. This money's going to flow into Ethereum-based DeFi. Benefit in terms of like an actual improvement in usability. To my understanding, EIP 1559 improves the kind of monetary characteristics of the Ethereum network in the sense that, hey, Ethereum is now deflationary, and we've got all of this DeFi and all of this activity on Ethereum that is going to burn a lot of Ethereum, which is fantastic. But EIP 1559 also, to my understanding, makes the fees on the Ethereum network more predictable, which is also a good thing. When we have more predictable fees, higher gas limits in these blocks, which even, those were controversial when they were implemented with Berlin, because higher gas limits means what? The chain's bigger. It takes more time to sync, bigger chain, more time to sync, more centralized because less people are capable of running nodes. But I think Ethereum DeFi in a big way is going to capture a lot of this upcoming bid, at least if history even rhymes even a little bit. And then I think we will see this rotation, back into Bitcoin. I've discussed this before. We're seeing an issue right now because a lot of people saw Binance Smart Chain, which CZ is brilliant for Binance Smart Chain. He realized that while all of this decentralization and stability and like all of that shit's great, right? But what the fuck do people actually want and need right here, right now? After DeFi summer, we've proven that the apes are here. But what people want and what people need are somewhere that they can go to the casino and it'd be cheap and fast. That's it. I've already seen all sorts of reports of like nodes on Binance Smart Chain being fucking 30, 60 blocks behind because the demand on the network is just so enormous. And the software, copy paste from Ethereum, right, is not meant to handle that kind of throughput. So the software is getting finicky. It's fucking up.
There's so much junk on Binance Smart Chain too.
That's where all the rugs are now. Because on Ethereum, here's the thing: I'm just a dude. I've got no money. My intention: I'm going to get on there and I'm going to make as many dog shit scams as I can, and I'm going to rug all these people, right? So it's cheap to do that over there. Yeah, I can go rug everybody for $3 on Binance Smart Chain. Whereas Ethereum, it costs some money to do that because it's just more expensive. One of the biggest things or narratives that I've seen emerging that I don't think is going to catch on as much as some other people have said is that what we've seen on Binance Smart Chain will be replicated elsewhere. In other words, will be replicated on other EVM compatible, centralized, fast chains. And the reason I think that is because CZ was at the right place at the right time. Not only that, but Binance has an enormous network effect. It's, I think, the largest crypto exchange in the world by a large margin.
Yeah.
So they were able to funnel all of those users into BSC, directly bootstrap it. Hey, let's lock up all this fucking BNB, which is already mega centralized supply-wise. Let's pump the fuck out of this. Let's get everybody rich. And those wealth effects do create stickiness for your chain. That's what brings the apes in. People want to be where the money is. But the thing is now, with Ethereum more usable, with Ethereum pumping versus Bitcoin, and with these EVM compatible smart, chains, whatever you want to call them, a dime a dozen now. Matic is not a true level 2 for Ethereum or layer 2 for Ethereum. It's actually it's more decentralized than Binance Smart Chain, but it's very similar in a lot of regards. And I love Matic. I think Matic's great. I think it's very easy to bridge over there and very easy to use. But at the same time, Binance Smart Chain came in and acted as Ethereum's L2, when we really needed it the most. We are reaching a point to where I can go do EVM compatible, and fast on Binance Smart Chain. I can do it on Phantom. I can do it on AVAX. I can do it on Matic. There's all of these different places to do it. And when you have a situation where the bid and the liquidity becomes that fragmented, and there's nothing yet that's doing these cross-chain aggregations, it's just not something that is sustainable. So I'm sticking with Ethereum DeFi, which is where I'm exposed. So I am, just full disclosure, I'm definitely biased here, but I think that's going to be what we're going to see here. And very similarly to the Bitcoin maximalists, these Ethereum maximalists are like diehard, never sell. Like, they're not going to be fucking trying to front run EIP 1559. They think it's the most bullish thing ever for Ethereum. But I think that it is the most bullish thing ever for Ethereum, but that's being priced in right now, while we're under this intense bid.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that it's going to be a lot of headlines, a lot of talk about it. I think, it is exciting. You always want to play Monday morning quarterback, but if it does represent a local top, I guess that's the $1 billion question here.
Well, I think we're at a local top right now. I've got a GAN fan that I've drawn on Ethereum that's just been like almost like magic. 35 to 3,600 is the level that we're at right now. That is where the momentum kind of stopped. If we do break that to the upside, I think it's going to be a teleport to 5,000. But if I do think it makes sense to hang out here for a little bit. The IP 159 is 2 months away. And if we just blew our wad right here, in my opinion, that wouldn't make much sense. So, I do think that, we're going to see very similarly to Bitcoin, where in 2017, we had an alt season, these alts pumped, and then you were down in Bitcoin, right? But you were up in USD when Bitcoin was blowing off at the end of 2017. Right. I think that this is going to be very similar to that, to where we're going to make crazy money with these Ethereum-based DeFi projects over the next 1 month. I think Ethereum resumes its run. I do think 5,000 is pretty much in the cards if everything keeps going the way it is. Assuming that Janet Yellen doesn't come out and say any more crazy shit and nuke the market or anything like that. But at the end of the day, it
doesn't even matter at this point.
Yeah, I mean, when Ethereum rips the 5
opportunity
down in E, up in USD, but at the same time, are you going to time that rotation perfectly? No, you're not.
Yeah. But speaking about, you talked about your GAN fan chart and the fact we can't stream our chart right now. Everybody, check out the Discord, and you should join. The link is right below
Please.
on YouTube, because Daniel's got a room in there where he's posting all his charts. RT's got a room. He's posting all his charts. It's really a great group in the Hxro Labs Discord. You should definitely come join. And while you're at it, smash that like button.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but we actually have 3,600 people there now.
Wow,
that's great.
In the Hxro Labs Discord. Typically about 500 to 600 at any given time appear to be online. But we do have a channel where only I can post. We do have a channel where only Random Task can post. If you guys love his TA setups, he's really, really good at buying dips and things like that. And one interesting thing about this Discord channel is we actually have a Hxro Ape bot that gives you a level based on your activity there. And if you are a certain level, which it might require you to hang out there and chat for 2-3 days, you can go to a research request channel, and you can post in that channel, and you can ask, hey, Random Task, what do you think of this? Or, hey, Daniel, what do you think of this? Those kinds of things, which is really cool. I do, just for the final segment of the show because somebody asked about it, and I definitely think it's something that we need to talk about. Hxro Labs is a sponsor for the May Solana Hackathon. Can you guys talk about that a little bit? And I think, I'll give it over to Dan and Rob, and we could talk about this. Just, I'm actually going to be a judge on this, which I'm really looking forward to. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to become an expert on everything Solana, on all of these Solana projects that are coming out, because there's a lot of good ones, and there's a lot of good ones that our project is actually going to be composing with. But not only that, the Solana Hackathon, a lot of people are saying is going to be a very bullish event for Solana. I've discussed this before, but Solana it caught a lot of the bid, and the Solana ecosystem caught a lot of bid because it's cheap and it's fast, but it didn't catch as much as Binance Smart Chain. And people have said, why do you think that is? It's not because it's worse. I've got a developer buddy of mine that said, why would I build out in Solana? It's actually, it takes twice as long for me to build there. And it's not much more cost effective relative to BSC. And if I built it on Phantom, it's even easier and even cheaper. Why do I build there? You build on Solana because you want your project to still be around in 5 years. The people building on Solana have a very long-term vision, and it does require building. Rust is not something that a lot of people know very well. And Solana's not benefiting like Binance Smart Chain from 3 years of copy-paste innovation that's occurred on Ethereum. If you want to come in and you want to build something out in Solana, there's a lot of advantages, but at the same time, it takes more work. It just does. It's a higher effort thing to do. But yeah, let's talk about the hackathon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm judging it as well, and or one of the judges at least, and was a judge in the last one, and some of the stuff that's coming out is pretty amazing. I find Solana to be a really incredible community. It's very tight knit. It's got a very, very positive kind of energy to it. Working with the blockchain, definitely, there is a lot of, the same way, with Ethereum, and the same way when Ethereum kind of started, like, it is just a lot of like really, really intelligent developers working on it, and a lot of what you're seeing is stuff that is really focused on like high throughput, high transaction, which is really what Solana is about, like very low cost base to transact on it, but it is very raw in terms of like when you work with it, and it doesn't quite have the tooling yet that the developer tools that Ethereum has, but Ethereum has a number of years on it, and it has a community that's multiples in size, but it is rapidly growing. The for us, coming from more of a trading background, and with what we're doing with Hxro Network in terms of building out a standardized options exchange tooling and plumbing, and everything we're doing with the parimutuel protocol, it speaks perfectly for us. A lot of the community in the kind of the world that Rob and I came from the proprietary trading world for derivatives, is so many of our old kind of counterparts are coming to the Solana community, starting to build there. Definitely something that kind of Sam led the charge with. Obviously, his background being at Jane Street, which is one of the prop trading firms that a lot of us interacted with, and I think you're going to see some pretty incredible things out over there, and beyond like just trading, which is a natural place for it. There's so many cool things around. Like it could just be around like the what's happening with social, with decentralizing social networks. It could be something as simple as like a chat function, or it could be something as complex as like a full metaverse, kind of like what Star Atlas is doing, or some like offshoots of it. And it's really cool to see the spectrum of ideas that come out of these hackathons, and it's usually a group of young and very ambitious developers like working hyper fast. They work their fucking asses off on these things, so it's almost hard in some ways to like discount anything that gets built there. Obviously, sometimes there's things that is just like they get thrown up and it looks like the guy was like butting up against the deadline, or just like didn't start the work until 12 hours before. But overall, it's a really incredible experience, and we're so honored and happy to be a part of the Solana community, and really excited to to provide value there in terms of what we're doing with Hxro Network.
It is super positive. I mean, everybody is super supportive, and there is a really, really strong like build atmosphere. Of course, everybody wants to get rich, right? Like, let's be fucking honest here. But at the same time, like, these people that are building, like Dan said, you've got fucking trading firms and people that we can't even disclose publicly that are building in Solana that would just blow your fucking minds. And you look at some of the most experienced builders in the traditional finance space, and they're going, hey, we're coming over to fucking DeFi. We're going to build out the applications that are going to power the future. Because I think anybody here that's used DeFi, like, it's pretty fucking obvious that this is going to be the future. This is the direction the world is headed in. And if other people haven't seen that yet, we've seen it. I mean, when you go to your fucking bank on Saturday and you try to send money somewhere and they can't send it because it's the weekend, like, what the fuck is that? Like, that's crazy. So I do think it's super interesting that all of these guys that are here for a very long period of time, that are looking out 5, 10, even 20 years, they're going, hey, where are we going to build? And I know it's a meme, the future of finance. We're building out on Solana.
That's right.
Good stuff. What do we?
But guys, I guess we'll move into final thoughts now. On everything, I guess my final thoughts. Somebody asked about what I'm thinking about Bancor right now. I'm feeling really, really good about Bancor. It does look like we are in a bull flag structure. The rest of the market is still looking super bullish. It's been consolidating for a solid month and a half now. I'm looking for a break, solid break above maybe $7.60. Momentum is just getting hammered right now. So you'll see things like that accelerate really, really quickly. For me, I'm still personally targeting anywhere between maybe $15 and $20 for Bancor. But like I said, this thing is on Coinbase and all those places. So, if it catches that 8 bid, like some of this other shit has, it does have really favorable unit bias characteristics. People, can look at Bancor and they can come in, and if they have $100, I can buy 10 Bancor, whereas I can only buy, a certain amount of this or that. I still feel really good about it. And I think that they've been building. You've got 76% of the supply now locked up staking. There's a 24-hour cooldown period when you unstake. So that keeps the market relatively, dumps are slow, in other words, because there's not this like, holy fuck, it's going down, like, let's cascade, let's pile on. It gives people a little bit of time to consider that action and think about it. And also having all that supply locked up just creates a lot of liquidity. They keep adding projects. It keeps getting more liquid. There's $2 billion of liquidity now on chain for Bancor, which is absolutely insane. I don't know anything else that's considered a shitcoin, that has $2 billion worth of liquidity. It's outrageous. But Bancor, any kind of DeFi, and here's the thing, it's very difficult to pick these outperformers. If I were to pick an outperformer for Ethereum DeFi, my plays are like Rook, for example, things like MPH. With Bancor, and a lot of these larger caps, I do think that the performance you're going to see on those is going to be very similar across the board. If Aave is going to go 2x, Bancor is going to go 2x. If Uni is going to go 3x, then Bancor is going to go 3x. So that's the way I see it. That's what I'm keeping my eyes on.
Dan, I got one question for you, because we've talked a lot in the past about kind of these SAM coins that we've been buyers of and believers in, because they were undervalued for a while. But one of these, what I categorize as a SAM coin is Ren. If we remember correctly, they pretty much took.
They purchased Ren.
Right.
I mean, they like bought the team, or I don't even know what the fuck that means, but yeah, it's
right. Are we? I mean, Ren has been a past favorite of yours. I'm not sure if it was technically
We were so heavy in that for
It was
over the summer. Remember, man, if we just would have held that, we probably would have outperformed everything else.
No, that's looking back in retrospect. Like I still remember at the literal bottom, I had 7 or 8 million REN.
Yeah.
Just an enormous amount, and I fucking sold I think more than half of it before it even ran. I still had a huge ass bag, but thinking back, what could have been. What if I just held, it's always a difficult thing to think about. Just in terms of REN being a Sam coin now, it makes a lot of sense why Sam would acquire REN. Because, REN is working on these trustless bridges to bring assets on chain. And in the context of Solana, of course, that makes tons of sense. Let's make it so we can bring Dogecoin to Solana, so we can bring Bitcoin to Solana, and we can all do this trustlessly and seamlessly. When it's a protocol like that, right now, I don't believe you have to KYC or anything to bring your Bitcoin onto Ethereum as REN Bitcoin. And I don't know if it's on Binance Smart Chain or anything like that. But REN is something that a lot of people slept on for a really long time. It wasn't considered a blue chip even. I think it's still not considered a blue chip by many. And I've been asked this before. What is a blue chip? Blue chip's something like, and it's not necessarily like a hard, number, but it's something like Uni. It's something like Sushi. It's something that has everybody talking about it, something with an enormous market cap, something that is pretty much guaranteed to move when the market starts moving. It moves with the other ones. They all kind of do basically the same fucking thing. Just alluding to what I was saying earlier. Right now, if you do want to outperform DeFi, you pretty much, in my opinion, got to figure out what the next blue chip is. I do think that there's going to be some new narratives and some new things that emerge, and there's going to be re-rates because of that. Otherwise, just fucking buy any big cap DeFi project, and I bet you'll get a 2 or 3x on it.
No, I mean it's something we've obviously followed REN for a while. It made a high in late February around $1.85. It's now trading 96 cents. It's, let's say it's 50% off its high-ish, and it is a Sam coin that when people get into crypto and they start reading and learning and they see how the Midas touch and how successful Sam is and where his vision for the future, it's like REN's on Coinbase, it's below $1. Is this something that has
I think REN has legs. I think we could see $3 to $5 REN pretty easily. And once again, this is just assuming that the sector starts moving. These sectors have been pumping. If DeFi catches a bid, you can count on REN moving and moving hard. I think a lot of people have almost forgotten about it. And like you were saying, Rob, a lot of people have forgotten that REN is a Sam coin now.
I mean, it's something that I've been kind of looking at. And I know when REN comes to my mind, you were definitely the guy that I heard about it first, and you did love it. And that's when, Dan and I started looking at it. And, when I'm kind of doing my scan through my watch lists and stuff and looking at charts, and, REN is one of those coins right now it's actually kind of come off its highs the most, I think the most for sure of any Sam coin, like that for sure. But, relative to a lot of other tokens, it's still well off its high. Now you could say, well, that high was really kind of a true blow off, that if you look at, the real levels here, maybe 140 could be considered the high, but no, I mean, it traded some serious volume up to 185. So, I don't know. It's something that's sticking out to me. I do agree. It's kind of going to be, I don't know if it's going to move on its own. I think we're going to see some days where everything's up and REN will be up 20% when everything's up 5-8%, because I personally think that it's got some room there more than others. So that's kind of,
I think so too. Especially when we're talking about What is Ren right now? $1 billion cap or?
Let's see. Yeah, look it up here. I don't know how many are outstanding. It's number 120 on the ranking. It's an $850 million cap right now.
Yeah, I think Ren has, maybe a solid 2 to 3x in it. In terms of outperformance, this is something that I think I was buying at like a $10 million cap at some point. So just keep that in mind. Like this project has already come a really, really long way. But there's more juice to squeeze. I think originally Ren benefited a lot because a narrative that nobody really saw coming was having this decentralized, trustless bridge from, things like Bitcoin to Ethereum. And that happened. And now Ren has, just on Ethereum, so many competitors. There's OBTC, there's, Boring DAO, there's Keep Network. And then there's, of course, centralized solutions, which still remain extremely popular, like WBTC. There's a lot of competition for Ren. So Ren blew up so much to begin with, in my opinion, because it was filling a niche that hadn't been filled yet.
Mm-hmm.
That niche has definitely been filled. So in terms of upside, is it a Sam coin? Is it something for people have forgotten? Yeah, but what's the new angle here? What's the new narrative? I feel like these things need some kind of hype to fuel them. I haven't seen much of that coming from Ren, but
Yep.
TBD. It's a Sam coin. Stay tuned. You never know when they're going to pull the rabbit out of the hat and do something absolutely crazy. I do know that Ren, I believe, is working with secure enclaves on Google's infrastructure, which should be really interesting. Just because originally, the original use case for Ren was this decentralized bridging of assets. But the original purpose of Ren, of course, was dark pools. But beyond that, dark pools were just an application. It was decentralized compute, which is something that's still kind of yet to be fleshed out, yet to be explored. That's one of the reasons why I'm super bullish on Keeper DAO. A lot of my old buddies from back in my Ren bag holding days are in Keeper DAO because Talos Systems, Taiyang Zhang, who is the CEO of Ren, is the CEO of Keeper DAO. We know that they know how to hype something. We know they know how to pump it. We know they know how to see things through. And very much like Ren, and this is one of the reasons why I like Keeper DAO so much, Keeper DAO is coming into fill a niche that hasn't been filled yet. It's a narrative that's being discussed, but it hasn't become this narrative that everybody's trying to replicate. Now we are seeing, other players on the MEV bandwagon. You've got B Protocol right now, which people are mining their token, which is very similar to Keeper DAO's K Compound that's coming out in the near future, except for they support Maker as well. You also have things that are taking different approaches, like some use private mempools, and like Archer DAO, where they'll route your transactions to this private mempool, and those miners have essentially agreed that, hey, we're not going to fuck your shit up. We're not going to let you get front run. We're not going to front run you in exchange for some kind of bribe or something like that. Tai Chi Network, which is something that's very similar to Archer DAO. There are emerging competitors, but the niche itself is still super young and it's yet to be filled. So that's why, why are you so big on Keeper DAO? Well, because, and I could be totally wrong. I have been before, certainly. But I think that that's going to be, MEV is going to be, a big niche, this big vacuum that somebody is going to come in there and be the giant of. We'll see who that ends up being.
I mean, I'm looking at, when you look at a comp, like Thor Chain is kind of like a competitor of Ren, and it's trading at 5x the market cap. Thor Chain is absolutely ripped. It's 4.3 billion with Ren at 830 million. So I don't know. Could be interesting, but we'll see what if they're able to really put out some fucking product that's exciting. Gunny, what do you anything on your radar?
Just hero building, man.
Yeah.
I'm pretty there's a couple things in the Solana ecosystem I talked about last week, Oxygen, something that I'm looking at, just like I'm kind of just like a standing bid there right now. And, you know, I'm kind of spread out. I think that ETH is going to continue to rally. I think it'll support a lot of what, you know, was talked about today, and it's going to cycle. And I think there's another leg up. I do think this is kind of, as Daniel said, the beginning of like maybe the beginning stages of like the parabola stage of this move. And it hopefully will last, you know, for a long time, but definitely know that it won't last forever. And it's just with what we're executing on Hxro Network and some of the, you know, things that have been happening there, which has been super exciting. You know, kind of, I think that's where you know, trying to build for the next 10.
Yep.
But anyway, with that, guys, thank you so much for coming. You know, a few of you have asked when we're doing church this week. We are going to be doing it tomorrow, probably targeting, I'd say 2 p.m., 1 p.m., or 3 p.m. CST. Like I said, around the same time as this stream, I was on vacation as well. And then I'd like to address this as well. You know, people have asked if the Andre boxing match is real, if it's serious. And yes, it is. And I am going to be training every day for that. And I am already speaking with different coaches and explaining the situation and telling them what needs to happen. So as long as he doesn't back out, you can count on me being there. And I look forward to it very much.
Is he like a power lifter?
No, he's not. He said he has, his brother has been in MMA fights. I think 5, I believe. I can't find any public record on him, but he does say that he has some MMA experience, which I'm not doubting, because if his brother does it and they're close, you know, I would imagine that they've sparred and things like that. But this is going to be boxing. I think that puts us on pretty even ground. He is 6'5", I believe. I'm 6 feet tall. And he's very skinny. But he is 215, I believe, according to him, and I'm 200. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, I might get rugged, but I am going to show up trained. And the one of the founders of Phantom is actually donating $1 million to charity for this to happen. So worst case scenario, even if I get beat up, I guarantee we'll be bringing on additional sponsors. We'll be getting additional donations to charity. I'm totally okay to get rugged if that's what ends up happening, to give millions of dollars to charity and show you guys a good time. But with that, I will say I will see you guys tomorrow in Shitcoin Church. If you are here and you enjoyed this stream, please hit the thumbs up button. That would be much appreciated. Please subscribe to our channel. And also, please come check out our Discord. I think you guys will enjoy that.
Absolutely. We'll be back with charts next week, too. I know you guys love the charts.